Hello, my name is Shauna Mitchell, and I'm here to present and tell you a little bit about the Healing Place, a mental health and healing center, which is a new concept in care of mental health for El Pasoans. The mission statement of the Healing Place is that it is to empower individuals to take control of their own health and well-being through training, alternative care methods, and individual therapies that are tailored designed for each client's needs. In doing this, we will balance the needs of clients with the financial needs of employees by offering services at many price points that may be customizable and effective for clients. Now, that's a long statement, but all that means is that we are not simply profit driven. We want to be able to provide services that help the clients, that help the community, and that are also profitable as well. And we intend to include some services that don't cost anything, so that people who might not be able to afford things are still able to attend to their own physical and mental well-being. The business structure is fairly simple. There would be an owner therapist, which would be myself, and then we would need a group processes manager, who would be the person who would be in charge of doing extracurricular activities and group sessions and settings. Also, there would be an office manager bookkeeper, because although I'm great and have a business degree, and although I'm really good at being able to communicate and work with people, paperwork is not my strong point. So it's very important to have someone be able to come in and help to make sure that that end of the business is doing what it needs to. That person would also be in charge of scheduling and making sure that we have somebody answering phones and making appointments and that sort of thing. So somebody very strong in clerical and organizational skills. Below the group manager would be the LPC therapist for group sessions, as well as yoga instructors, MBSR teachers, which is a form of meditation that can be taught in clinical sessions, as well as Alcoholics Anonymous facilitators who might want to be able to come in and be able to work within the group, and it would be a place where they could come to. Underneath the office manager and bookkeeper would be the LPC or licensed practicing counselors, who would be doing individual sessions only, and we would expect the business to have about 6 to 7 of those in addition to myself. Internal processes, meeting as needed to discuss office policies and changes. It is important to have meetings as necessary and not just as a kind of a weekly routine. So we want to be able to make sure that when we're having meetings, they are important and impactful. It's also important that we do a lot of team building, and as you'll see later on, we built some of those team building activities into the budget so that the therapists are being able to be connected to each other, and it's a good place to work and an environment to work in. Bi-weekly meetings would be held with each counselor or facilitator to be sure that any help that is needed is being able to be given to clients. It's also common that counselors would meet informally and be able to have discussions if they have questions about maybe what they should do or how they should help someone be able to be a better counselor. So that's something that would just kind of happen naturally and organically. Also, all the documentation would be stored under lock and key, and as well there would be investment in encryption files so that none of the information would be able to get out without the clients and the businesses' participation in that. So that is important too. The responsibilities. There are 2 different types of groups. The business is split into group therapies and individual therapies. As far as group therapies are concerned, the goal is to provide services in a group setting that are beneficial for the mind and the body. So it does have a body component. To that end, we have included Pilates, not the kind with the machine, but the kind that you can do on your own on a floor or a mat, as well as yoga as low-cost options for people. who may not want to or be able to pay for individual services, which do run quite a bit more, even with insurance sometimes. Individual therapies provide individual services through private sessions. That would be one-on-one with a counselor and an individual in their room side by side, being able to talk to each other. There are a few things that are key to me as far as hiring. One of those is to make sure that there's a diverse staff. That means that we want to make sure that we've got males and female counselors, and we want to have a variety of ages. Younger people all the way up through senior citizens being able to work and counsel, because there are different stages of life and different things that we're more familiar with or connected to. And the customers coming in or the clients coming in will probably have a need for that as well. So that we're able to serve a larger swath of the El Paso population. It's also important that we have people who are familiar with and can work with the military, because it is such a big component here in town. The available services are individual licensed practitioner counseling services and therapies, small group therapies, which would include groups of 7 or less in the group, large group therapies, which would include up to 30 people in a group or a teaching setting, and then free programs, including Alcoholics Anonymous and group meditation sessions, yoga and floor Pilates, and individual mind-body training sessions as well. The marketing plan is actually remarkably simple. It turns out that advertising your business, if you are a therapist, is not cost effective. Most people don't go to television and say, oh, there's a therapist. So that's why you don't see a lot of therapists on television. The way that most people in therapy end up finding a good therapist is through referrals. So that could be individual, friend to friend, but more often it's through professional settings. So we would target our efforts by networking with doctors who see people who are sick and often end up with depression because of the illness, lawyers who deal with people who are always having stressful times or difficult situations, such as death or divorce or even legal issues. So those type of people oftentimes need counselors. So lawyers often refer. Churches, synagogues, and mosques are also places where people go and they end up going for counseling. If it turns out that the counselors at the church don't feel that they're able to provide that level of service that they need, oftentimes they will do an out referral to someone that they know and feel comfortable with. The other word is just networking, friend to friend, and just letting everybody that you know. So we probably would spend quite a bit of money on business cards, but that's about it for actual marketing fees. For profit mode, there are 2 different types of profit mode that we're interested in. The first one is in individual therapies. This is the most profitable form. I looked it up, and in the APA, which is the American, that's the association, the American Psychological Association. I'm sorry, I was messing that up. The average cost or payment is $120 per hour. This is a nationwide fee per hour for a therapy. And that's what ends up getting paid to the provider. So conservatively, if each LPC, and we would have 7, does 25 hours of therapy, which is very conservative for a full-time employee, well then the weekly income stream from counseling sessions would come out to $21,000 a week or $84,000 per month. And that's just from half of the business stream. So, and the LPC typically earns 50% of that fee. So the LPC himself would walk away with $60, and then $60 would stay with the company to be able to pay for costs and expenses, and then the remainder of that is profit. So on that end, it's very profitable. For group sessions, those are profitable as well because you charge a much lower fee. In general, somewhere in the El Paso area, between $20 to $40 per session, which is something that often counseling, the Those type of counseling sessions are often covered by insurance because they are so much less expensive and they're still deemed to be effective. So if you were to get a group of 10 people and each of them were paying $200 for 1 hour or $20, that would end up being $200 for a 1 hour session, and it would still end up being profitable. The giving mode. Free sessions would be offered to the community as a part of outreach and service. These sessions are not for profit. They were to be able to help the people in the community who might not be able to afford services otherwise. And they're also something that oftentimes if someone has been through therapy, the maintenance of that can be very expensive. And group sessions where people are able to come and be able to share and listen and be heard are often very effective in maintaining somebody's mental health after initial treatment has been given. The business expenses. Rental on a 4,000 square foot building laid out to our specifications in El Paso, Texas is about $4,000 per month. Utilities for gas, electricity, phone systems, the internet, water, trash, and the security system run about $1,300 a month. The salary for the office manager would be about $3,000. And the miscellaneous budget, which would include, by the way, coffee, office supplies, transportation, and those team building sessions that I discussed earlier, would be about $1,500 per month. So that's about $10,300 per month for fixed salaries. However, given the cost of overhead versus the cost of versus the profit coming in, that's still a viable business, and there is a profit margin that runs about 40 to 60%, depending upon those are conservative estimates. The unexpected cost. Counseling can be a very litigious field, so insurance is required to protect against legal liability. Monthly coverage for the entire business, that would include all of the employees, and this is for against lawsuits as well as accidental injuries and such, would run about $4,600 per month. So that's actually more money for the insurance than it is for the rental on the building where we would be housed. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. It's a great idea, as far as I'm concerned, to be able to bring more resources to the El Paso area for mental health. And it's something that can be a win for the employers, a win for the employees, a win for anybody needing treatment in El Paso, and a win for the world at large. Because when healthy people go out, they do healthy things that impact other people in healthy ways. And there'll be less need in the future then for another healing place. Thank you.